popcorn pipe in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? 420 bitches.
Go ahead, Dre. Go ahead, Dre. Just go ahead.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 1528 podcast. This is episode 10. We're recording on 420, disclaimer, so if anybody says something ridiculous, don't hold it against them, because who knows what they did before they jumped on this call. But before we get into it, what's happening, fellas? What's been going on? What's new?
What up?
You know, it's a good yet bad day. We'll get into that, but other than that, it's just
we'll get into it, BJ.
It's the topic of the show.
That's why we don't let BJ talk.
I have no idea what the fuck's
I
going
missed
on
it.
right now. Do I?
Anything exciting happened last week?
Ooh.
Anything? Anybody?
Oh, I thought you were
chill.
talking to JT.
Nothing.
Anybody?
Nothing exciting per se.
I
You know,
bought a
had
bike.
A motorcycle or a bicycle?
A bicycle. I bought a bicycle. And I'm excited.
Right.
for
Riding
I mean,
bike.
why? Like,
people
Getting some
riding.
why were you
exercise in.
confused about it?
Who? Anyway, and I bought Deucey a bike. So
BJ got toddler speech. If you pay attention, like BJ has toddler speech. Like,
How is that?
just a little confused. Right?
What? What?
He's confused. Y'all just pay attention. I've been noticing for years, but I really heard it just now, so I gotta say something.
Don't be I'm eloquent than the motherfucker.
How does that stuff?
Oh, Jesus.
How?
All right.
How?
So we just go ahead and get into the show, because
Wait, Dre.
ain't no telling when we're going to lose BJ. Ain't no telling when we're going to lose BJ. We're just going to have to get into this, because who knows what's on his mind.
Chime into the
y'all,
chats just in case you didn't see his picture for the past 2 minutes. Just let us know. Thank you. Go ahead, Dre.
So,
Started a fire.
So y'all, this week we did a last minute audible. As you all are well aware of now, the verdict in the Derek Chauvin case in the murder of George Floyd was announced actually an hour before we recorded. We had a whole show planned, so we're actually just going to move that to next week, and we decided to give this show time to actually talk about the topic of that trial, how we're feeling, our thoughts. So we're going to jump into that today. So the first question that we actually have is about the overall feeling, that a lot of black people had. And Van Jones on CNN, when they were awaiting the trial or the verdict to be announced, he actually said that, it's kind of scary when you think about it, and sad, but black people were kind of in a state where they had no hope, or where they were afraid to hope. For you guys individually, like, how did you all feel leading up to the verdict, knowing the verdict was about to be announced? Were you hopeful? What were your thoughts? Were you sad? Where were you guys at with that?
I'll be totally honest, I wrote it off. I completely just wrote it off. Like, sadly, these things come up. Someone has taken another black life. Police officers take another black life, and for some reason they get slapped on the wrist or completely go scot-free. And, I didn't want to put too much emotion behind it, because that hope is one of those things that hurt in the end sometimes. To hope for a conviction and not receive it, it hurts. It's a whole nother slap to the wrist. Slap to the wrist? Is that what I'm saying? Yeah.
Slap in the face.
Slap on the wrist? Or
Yeah.
slap in the
Face,
face.
yeah, face. Yeah, face. So, I completely just like, hey, it's going to be what it's going to be. America is what it is. And, we'll answer that. That's another question later on. But it's kind of, like I said, I'm happy we got the conviction. But at the same time, the fact that we're even here is still sad.
Yeah. For me,
I definitely feel that.
For me personally, it was one of those things that I kind of just, I don't want to say forgot about it, but just left it alone until it happened, right? Because how many times have we hoped for justice, and it just didn't pan out. So, not wanting to, I mean, it just sucks because no matter what, how much evidence we can have, how much video footage we can have, how much just common sense we can have, they still get off, you know. And for me, like with George Zimmerman starting off there, it's just one of those things where it's like, man, it started to open up the my eyes of just where we stand in America, kind of. And then Philando Castile rocked me to the core because he did everything that they say you're supposed to do. He let the officer know, yes, I have a weapon. He let the officer know, yes, I am a concealed carrier, licensed person. All of that. And he still got murked on camera. And then that guy was able to get off with the I fear for my life bullshit. So it's sad that I would, had this Derek guy got off, the surprise would not have been there. The rage would have been there, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he got off because it's just what it is. So now there is a relief. There is a hope that people are actually starting to change and understand, or just letting justice actually really be served, especially since we as a people have sometimes been the blunt of being misjustice or injustice, just wrong justice or whatever, or like even being accused and convicted of things that we didn't really do. But just because you quote unquote fit the description, or just because you were in the wrong place at the wrong time and they have to charge somebody, well, guess what? We gonna pick a nigga. Picnic right now. This is what we gonna do. I don't even know if I'm relieved right now. It's just the first step.
Well, we're getting that a little bit on the next question.
Yes, sir.
But we do, before we do get into that, well, said I'll let you jump in. Yeah. Oh no, I was going to answer, but I'll let you go first.
No, but so the way I approached it, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the statement because I didn't approach it hopelessly. You know what I'm saying? It was weird though. You know what I'm saying? Like every time this happens, I'm still approaching it with anything could happen, right? Anything could happen. The same way, like the same hope as I had in the election when I was like, dang, Trump could get reelected, or Biden can get in. Man, I hope Biden get in. You know what I'm saying? Like that same hope I had in that. I was like, I did my part, cast my vote. You know what I'm saying? Like Biden got to get in. And so I came with this.
You had like a cautious optimism.
Yeah, that's the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and then when this was going on, it's just like, okay, hey, listen, it can go either way. It can go either way, but I hope they do the right thing. I hope this is not another case that's publicized like this all around the world. Like this got global coverage, you know, and really sparked off Black Lives Matter. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily the organization, but really the sentiment, the character, everything of Black Lives Matter. You know what I'm saying? That really sparked that. For them to blunder this and really act, you know, yeah, like for them to just, if they was, you know, so my hope was like, y'all won't do that. Y'all won't do that. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get something right this time. And so that's how I approached it, you know? And I guess maybe that's part of my coping mechanism, just to be like, I gotta be cautiously, you know, optimistic about what's going on, understanding my reality, being realistic. Practical.
What was the phrase you just used? Cautious what?
Cautiously optimistic.
Okay. I think I probably
Put that on the t-shirt.
will squeeze over into that. Because it wasn't no hope, but at the same time it was very little. For the track record and it's one of those things. I don't put nothing past anybody, so I don't put it past America's justice system to kind of let this man just completely go scot free on some BS. So yeah,
Yeah, for me, it was tough because I'm usually somebody that's glued into all of this kind of news and media stuff, but I couldn't watch a minute of the trial. Like, it was just too much to deal with. It was too much. It was too heavy. Like this last year was just been a lot to process as a black male, and I'm sure y'all can relate. And I just couldn't. I couldn't sit through and watch that. I had the time, I just couldn't allow myself to watch that. But when I think I was actually watching ESPN, and they said that the verdict was in or something like that, and it'll be announced at 4:30. I immediately was like, okay, that run I was about to do after we recorded, I got to do this and get it out the way now, because I was nervous about the verdict. I posted something on Facebook, like the verdict's in. Given how quick the verdict came back, given how most jury trials work, that usually means it's a quick conviction. You usually don't have a quick verdict if it's a not guilty. There's usually debate, there's usually questions, there's usually all this other stuff that drags it out. So in my mind, I was like, okay, the logical thing would be a guilty verdict. But then it was like, yeah, but logic hasn't followed cases where black men died at the hands of the police. So it was like, I wanted to feel like confident in that common logic was going to make sense. But I was just so on the fence that I was nervous. Like, I literally went and ran, and I was like, all right, I'm going to run because I need to get home by the time the verdict is announced, just in case a race war breaks out. Like, I really had no idea what was going to happen. And my neighborhood is predominantly not my skin color. So I was like, shit, let me do what I got to do, get my exercise in for the day so I can be home. And while I was running, it was weird because I was like, all right, I'm going to sprint this last quarter mile or whatever. Started running, got tired of shit, because I'll never do that. Man, no, but I got tired of shit. I was about to just stop and walk the rest. And then, like, in the back of my head, I just heard, we still got to run for a mod. And I was like, shit. Turned up, ran the whole rest of the way while crying home the last quarter of a mile. And then, like, I just got home. They still hadn't announced the verdict. And it was just like one of those things where, I don't know, it just felt so heavy that I couldn't feel good about a potential verdict. Because, like, to me, what Van said was real. Like, given what happened to all the other black men that died in the hands of the police, I didn't have that hope. In my mind, there was still a logical conviction, but there was no hope in the other hand. It was like, they're only going to convict us because it's ridiculously logical and there's nothing else they can do. But my hope was gone. It was more fear. And the fear was because I was afraid of what was going to happen if they didn't convict him. Man. But there wasn't any hope in that hand. So that I relate exactly to how Van was feeling in regards to that.
Yeah, that fear of what may happen. Because as soon as they said the verdict is in, I was in a meeting. And I said right out loud, because it came to my phone, and I looked down and I said, oh, Lord, please let them do the right thing. Please let them do the right thing. In the middle of my meeting, right? I was just like, please let them. And they're like, what? I was like, the verdict's in. And they was like, and the only black dude was just like, what verdict? I said, what? Like
how do you not know what's going on?
Just got stuff to do, I guess. People busy. Don't know.
Man.
Don't know.
Wow. Yeah, that's.
I don't know. But I was just like,
volumes.
You feel me? So I was just like, let me just keep this moving. And you know what I'm saying? But I just really, you know, in my meetings, I would look over my shoulder and see if the verdict is in. And you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that fear of like, what's going to happen? Like, and even would I participate for real this time? And what may happen if this comes back? You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, it's just.
Yeah, one other thought that I had that was just, man, it was a lot. Right before the verdict was announced, I was sitting there. I was like, all right, let's go ahead and announce this verdict so I can get in the shower, and maybe I'll just cry in the shower if I need to or whatnot. But then B Bob came into my mind, and I was like, damn. Like, if it would have came back not guilty, I was like, my guy might be crushed because, you know, George was his boy. He spoke at his funeral, and I was just like, and then I had that noodling on in my head, and it was just like, man. So, needless to say, it was a big decision.
So what's fucked up is we all were prepared for them not to do the right thing. Prepared in some way, like mentally.
Yeah.
Just
In
like
some way, yeah.
Like, you know, we are being conditioned to not fucking matter. In a sense. Like, if something happens and it's just brushed under, it's almost like the mental aspect of it is you knew the shit wasn't going to work out in our favor anyway. And that's not a life
partially
to live,
so,
bro.
So, I agree partially with the sentiment because I do feel like we've been conditioned to be let down by the justice system because it's felt us several times. But what I have also felt was if this doesn't go right, we are literally that much closer to quote unquote a race war. Like this is blatantly laid out. Like this should have been a conviction. If it didn't happen, like there's nothing else to say to black people of color, that your lives are literally worth nothing. That we can find some way in the system to technically get someone off from murdering one of you. And so to me, conditioned to, to be let down, yes, but also I understood the other end, the aspect of where this can go and what it can lead to.
So
But
is
see,
it
that's the thing, because with that in mind though, it's something that I can't pass down. Like, I can't pass that down to my son. That feeling of like we could be let down, right? Because I think that's the reason why. Because it has to be well within their best interest not to do this with us. Some way or another, it has to be well within their best interest. And for some reason, our generation right now is not doing what it takes for it to be well within their best interest to make sure that we're happy.
So yeah,
Well, but part of that though said it goes way back beyond our generation, beyond our parents' generation. It goes to slavery.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, one of Willie Lynch's famous sayings was "Keep the body, take the mind." If you take away their hope, if you take away their belief that better things can happen, then they're going to fall in line. So, like, in some level, that's how we were conditioned, trial after trial after trial after trial, 40-something trials of police officers killing black men and women, and we ain't got one yet. Like, people were feeling like that stage of it, like, there's no hope in this. Like, it's lost. Like, what are we doing here? Kind of a thing. Like, why do we keep even going to trial if we always just gonna lose? And nowadays, people are more radical, and we would start fucking shit up afterwards. But we just hadn't got to that stage yet on a grand scale.
Yeah, and I think I was hoping our generation could do it, and hopefully we could. But I really hope our kids can do it, where it's just like when you hear these stories about how, how white men encounter, or white people encounter police, juxtaposed to how a black encounter is. You know what I'm saying? Like, that whole narrative has to be switched, because it's like they shouldn't even get to the place to where they feel like it's even okay to do what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? To even get to this point. So, man, go ahead.
No, I mean, I feel you. You definitely right there. But I mean, it's just that weird point
with your
where
friends. Your little friends.
I was trying not to say something. I'm like, I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna try to keep moving.
That shit right.
You and your friends. You and your little friends.
Move it up 2 hours, huh?
Right.
All right, I got you. Oh man.
Hey, but Justin, I did have a
my
question.
schedule.
Right. I had a question. You said you guys are afraid of a race war. wouldn't it be more productive? It's not really
I'm not afraid of it.
against race, but what about like a war against the system or the government in per se? Because there clearly are white people that agree
Well-
that this man was wrong and he should go to jail, and so we could just start walking around popping off every pale face that we see. You know what I'm saying? That's something we can't do. So
But I don't think
I don't think that's the definition of what we say when we refer to a race war.
nah. It's more so. I see what you're saying. It's more so of honestly,
Ideologies.
yes, and the system is included, and the fact that there are. I think it'd be more so popping off to any pale face person, as you put it, that blatantly
Yeah, he
shows the racist card. I mean,
okay.
I'm just using the term that was used in the example in the question. So yeah, but it definitely the system. The system is
But I
needs a good overhaul.
I think there's a problem.
You got
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well,
Just
I mean,
reiterate it. Go ahead.
I think it's a problem if we don't realize that we're already in a race war. Like, one's not about to start. Like, we're in one. If we don't know that these are war type tactics and like the
get you
war
that. Yeah.
is happening right now. So if people are like, the race war is about to start, like, where have you been? Or maybe
Right.
maybe that's why we respond the way we do, because we're reacting more to like a social move or a societal norm or whatever like that. No, but when you look at the way these moves are, it's what you would do against your enemy if you were fighting against another country, or when you how you conquer people.
Yeah,
And so
we're
it's like,
already
if
in
we
the fourth
don't-
quarter.
Yeah, we're
Y'all
already
waiting
in this
on-
war, and it's
waiting
like,
on certain things. Yeah.
yeah, we win certain battles, but the war, I feel like we're still losing because we got to overhaul the system, right? So,
Yeah.
to me, that's a problem, because even the wokest person will be like, "Y'all gonna start a race war?" Like, hold on, bro. What have we been
Already
doing?
there.
I wouldn't necessarily say agree we in a race war. We're definitely in a power struggle with those that have it versus those that don't, and they don't want to relinquish any power or see us as equals. I just think race war is a much more drastic kind of thing in my mind.
But plug in who you're really talking about when you say those with power. Like, what do those people look like?
I mean,
The haves and the have-nots.
yeah. The
Yeah,
rich and the
what do they
poor.
look like?
They look like they got money.
What do they look like?
Some of them are white. Some of them aren't.
Majority?
There are black people up there that are holding on to their money just like the white people are.
Okay.
There's a lot of Europeans, Asians, all types of other people, and they're protected. They're fine. They're cushy. They don't even think about what we deal with while we over here killing ourselves each day, going through the actual trauma of this. But to keep it moving, we'll go ahead and dive into the second question, and that is in regards to the actual verdict itself. So when the verdict came in and it was read, we got Derek Chauvin guilty of all three charges. So, second-degree unintentional murder, he was found guilty. Third-degree murder, he was found guilty. And second-degree manslaughter, he was also found guilty. Do you guys feel, like that made you relieved? Does it feel like, okay, now that verdict is in, we matter now, and people know Black Lives Matter too? Or like, what are your thoughts on the verdict itself?
Not really. It's that push come to shove. We give you this one, for the past 5 plus. Here's one, so you can kind of feel some kind of way, trick the masses,
So you can shut
get
up.
the mindset,
Shut up and
at ease. Yeah, shut up for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
threw us a bone type shit.
Yeah, that type of deal. It's the right call here, right? But at the same time, not relieved in any way, and don't feel like it's a new day by any means.
See, I think it may be like a coping mechanism where you just
What JT just said?
yeah.
Okay.
Like, I just won't fully enjoy this victory. It's a victory, nonetheless, right? If your favorite team wins the game and you say you only won by a point, hey, when the clock went to 0, we was up on a score. We won.
There's
You know
a
what I'm
difference
saying?
between
So-
relieved and being cool with the verdict. Like, I'm happy that it is, but I'm not relieved in any way.
Well, to
Like,
me, it's a relief.
I think I understand the importance of this particular conviction. However, I can't stay so narrow into this that I'm not thinking about the bigger picture. That's
Yeah,
more so.
yeah.
But you can do
and
things. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I'll let you finish answering, but to kind of use that analogy that you said, like, I'm on JT's line of thinking with this. I'll get my answer later, but it's kind of like basketball, right? This was a regular season game that we won.
Mm-hmm.
If we're playing this season for a championship, that 1 out of 81 games doesn't really matter that much. So, yeah, cool, we beat the Cleveland Cavaliers on a random Tuesday night, but we in this for the championship, so, like, that game,
I mean, I hear
type of
that,
thing.
but then you also go for you go on winning streaks 1 win at a time. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
for me, I think I take it as a step. So it's a little relief for me. It's a little relief for me because I can take relief in a victory and not lose sight of the whole, of the big picture. You know what I'm saying? I can look at this one thing and say, listen, they could have done some foul stuff for real, like they've done before. Customarily, they've done it. They could have done it, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen this time. And I'm gonna take relief in that it didn't happen, and I'm gonna increase my hope that this won't be so rare of an occasion in my lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking at it incrementally. Like, yeah, this was good. We win this battle right here. There's more battles to win, so we can't relax. It's just like Kobe. Hey, how's it feel? You won this game. Work finished? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got more work to do. So, yeah, not to relax, but relieve, for sure.
No, I feel that. I guess for me, I didn't feel as good as I thought I would. Like, when the verdict came in, I thought I was actually going to get like a weight lifted kind of a feeling, but it was just like a blah feeling. Like, all right, I mean,
Like,
it
why
was
should
kind
I
of one
get
of those things
excited for
where
some shit
I didn't want to
that's
accept.
clear?
Right, it was clear that he was fucking guilty. Like, why should I
Yeah.
get excited about that? Like, I'm not gonna keep just bringing myself down to accepting the bare minimum like it's a great thing. Like, it was just like kind of moment. Like, I was happy because like we mentioned earlier, I was afraid of what would have happened if it would have been a not guilty verdict.
Yeah, for sure.
But aside from that, like, it was just very blah. I was like, all right, well, we got that, but I mean, look at all the shit that's happened since George Floyd got killed. Like, shit ain't really changed, and this verdict is great, but kind of a thing. A little bit of hope, I guess, came back, where before the verdict I didn't have really any. So I have a little bit on the hope scale now, especially hearing some of the news analysts talk afterwards. And one of the things that they mentioned was a big reason why we don't get a lot of these convictions and why a lot of shit with the police systems are just fucked is because of the secrecy that police have among themselves, right? I forgot what they call it, the white line of silence or some shit like that. But basically, you don't snitch on other police no matter how bad it is. But they were saying, after seeing how police in this case actually cooperated after they gave up the information and after they blah 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 and nothing happened to them, hopefully that leads more people to feel comfortable breaking that
code of
line.
silence.
So, like, if anything, yeah, so if anything, I feel good because that might actually become more of a reality, because that is important. Like, that's huge. We all seen Training Day, and if we just got a bunch of Denzel cops running around and ain't nobody doing shit, shit just gonna be bad. So, like, that was the only relief I felt. But in the verdict itself, and like the air of, okay, well, Black lives do matter to everybody now, let's rejoice type shit, I just don't feel it.
No.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expect a kumbaya moment with this. Like, it's too heavy still for something like that. It's one thing to trust God, but to trust man, especially to trust the justice system, nah, that's out the ballpark for me. Especially in cases like this. So relief is. If I have to put into a number, it's a 3 or 4 for a level of relief. Just to say there is a yes, they did the right thing this time. A little bit of an exhale, very little, but I can't. It's still there's still tension to me in this, like in the whole grand scheme of thing, even in this trial. Now they're talking about, if they're gonna, do his sentences, consecutive or all together, concurrent. Thank you. So it's a whole nother situation of like the fuckery's not done yet. Like we need to wait, see how this shit goes, and then you'll get that sigh of relief from me.
Because he could
there's
only
a
end
whole
up doing
appeal process that still
five
gonna happen,
years or
so-
some bullshit.
Some old bullshit.
Oh, I mean, and they could appeal, and some higher courts could fucking reverse some shit. We never know.
I don't
That's
even want to see
definitely a
that
possibility.
day. It is,
Right.
but I do believe that'll be a whole shit
Oh.
show for the entire planet
Oh, that yeah.
if some shit like pop off.
I believe it. BJ, you want to jump in here?
Yeah. For me, there's no relief. It's a final appreciation a little bit for the justice system and saying, okay, you guys made the right call. But it's almost one of those things where if they didn't make the right call, it would have just been too blatant. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way that you can't make this call. So in order to continue to create the illusion of a fair system, we have to make this call. Sorry, bro. You are the guy that has to go down right now. And like we all said, it's still not ready. It's still not done because let's see what the sentencing is all about. Because I remember when this happened. And I remember the show that we did afterwards and the emotions that we had and me going to work and two of the cooks asked me what was wrong and I just, in emotions, I just let it out. And it was emotions that they both are white people and they both didn't realize that they had a friend out there hurting this much and things that they just can't understand. So I remember all of that. And it was just, less than a year ago.
Season 1, episode 3, for anybody who didn't catch that. Season 1, episode 3 is the episode he's referring to.
Absolutely.
Go check it out in the back catalog.
Yeah, so
And
check it out
it's,
here.
It's just one of those
We'll
things
put it on
where it's cool. We got this verdict. I guess the true disappointment is, why should we feel relieved that we got this verdict? Like, this shouldn't be oh my God, yes, kumbaya moment. This should be evidence, justice, done. But unfortunately, we don't get that. We don't get that this man was unarmed and he was shot, and in all evidence points towards him being, or the officer being negligent or being whatever. We don't get that benefit of the doubt. So when we do get justice,
I feel more like they threw us a bone.
Okay, but can we pivot on that right quick? There are some calls from the court that's gonna make you relieved and excited, right? And it's not why should I feel this way. It's because, man, they got it right in the courts, right? Because it is people making decisions that affect people's lives, right? So what I'm saying is that, like, if you, no matter what color you are, but mostly if you're a black man, if you're on trial for your life and they're saying you did something that you know you didn't do, you're innocent of. When you are found innocent, you're gonna feel relieved. Not like, oh, I'm glad y'all threw me a bone. No, hey, we're relieved in this because we know he didn't do it, or she didn't do it, or whatever. There's also a sense of relief on the other side of that when somebody did something wrong to your family, and then they're found guilty in court. There's a sense of relief because it's like, yes, y'all did y'all's job, plaintiff. You did your, prosecutor. You did your job. You prosecuted this man. Cool. We're relieved by that. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't want to completely misplace the feeling of relief, right? You can be happy around the board with these things, even though there's more work to do. Like, you can kind of compartmentalize that a little bit.
No, I get that, but I don't feel that
Okay.
relief. I 100% feel more like they threw us a bone versus
Okay.
they did what's right. If I was in his family shoes, or if I was directly, he was a personal friend of mine or something like that, maybe I would feel differently. But looking at it from my angle is the angle of a black man that's dealt with this from a distance, as I did the other murders of black men and women over, my lifetime. The way I look at it is from a larger scope, and for me, it's just like, all right, take this one, shut up, and good luck next time, type shit.
I can't. I appreciate the way you're putting it, said. I really do. I appreciate it because you're giving more of a glimmer of hope of this is good stuff, y'all. We need to celebrate this, and and all of that. And I appreciate that, and I hold on to just a small speck of that. But I think it's the overall heaviness, importance, and I guess realization that there's still a lot of fuckery going on, man. And like Dre said, like if I was related or close friend or somebody like definitely more connected, then it probably would be a sigh of relief outside of missing the person who is now gone, right? But no, I like I said,
guess-
it's probably a 3 in the relief.
But maybe because I feel like
Me personally, we got a delay here because of my internet sucked. So sometimes I will say something and y'all say something. But anyway,
We get it.
me personally,
We get it.
why can't we take some relief that the system is getting better? Like there's nothing wrong with saying they got this right. They were supposed to get this right, and they did, and that was the equality that we were looking for. Why do we have to be
You got
so
more to do.
Right. No. I
this grand
But
this
here's
grand
why,
thing
BJ, like-
against us versus this is how the law is supposed to work, and it worked.
Right, but here's why: is because now we're 1 out of like 43. That's still a really shitty percentage, and one time out of not doing it 40 sometimes isn't enough for me to say, okay, it's working now. That's enough for me to say, all right, maybe I got a little bit of hope before. But also, when I was messaging my homegirl Morgan, something she said was like they couldn't get this wrong because the whole world was looking at us. Like it would have been it would have been a bigger fiasco in this case more than any of the other ones. After everything that we've been through this last year, so it's just one of those things where it's like it's a good step. There's restoring a little bit of hope, but one time is not going to make me say, okay, the system's back, we got this. No,
So I have a question. Was
it's
this a
just not.
jury?
It's
was this
not.
a jury
It's
trial?
not enough of a positive track record. Yeah,
This was a jury trial, right? Okay.
yeah.
All right. So why don't we get mad at the jurors versus the system? Because these are 12 people of all walks of life, quote unquote, that they're supposed to be. Why don't we get mad at the jurors versus the quote unquote system? Like I believe the system's fucked. Absolutely. I'm not saying that. And I'm
Right.
pretty sure there are
but part
some
of that,
judges.
Part of the answer.
I'm pretty sure there are some judges.
Part of the answer is because of how the system is. Right, part of that answer is because of how the system is. A lot of it goes into jury selection by the judge, the prosecutor. A lot of that goes into the judge himself in terms of what they will and won't allow, and that swings the pendulum more than anything else. If you're not letting in certain things, or if you're only letting certain aspects of the story be told, that's going to impact the jury where they can't reasonably say it's beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's a lot of institutional things that impact the scope of what the jury is presented and who the
there's
jury
evidence.
is.
There's evidence that could easily point and make it a straight up conviction, but if the judge is like, "Nah, I'm not going to let that allow that in this particular case," then now we got to work harder to point it in the right direction. It's one of those things where the system, it's still the fucking system, even if you want to say it's the jury. The jury is part of the fucking system. How they pick these people, you know what I'm saying? What does a jury look like? The way they do selection for jury is literally a fucked up process.
Horrible.
Like all the way through and through. You know what I'm saying? It's to the point where the entire thing needs to be gutted and honestly rearranged. And we can say it's the lawyers, the judge, the jury, the system as a whole. You could make it one of those, but collectively, it's still a problem.
Yeah, but
I think it's funny.
what does
One
that
time
look like?
I had jury duty. It was crazy. Not the one time I had jury duty is crazy, right? So like I showed up to check in or whatever. I was the only black person, not just black man. I was the only black person who in the whole like jury pool. Who you know what I'm saying? And it tripped me out because I live in one of the biggest counties. You can only find one black person, you know what I'm saying, whose turn is right now. And it was so weird. I mean, I met some pretty cool people. You know, it wasn't like, the jury's just whatever, but I met some pretty cool people. But it was just like, because they said it too, they was like, wow, you're the only black person in the room. I was like, yeah, that's very weird. And they were saying how strange it was.
But I have a
And so
question
I think,
for
like
you.
you said, and I say
have a
this
quick
to say about the system.
My bad. We have to take part in the system because if I get a jury duty notice, oh, nobody repeats this, I'm not fucking going. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like people who don't take part in the census or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things. Like, if you don't take part in the
Why do you
census,
say you hope nobody repeats this?
and I put it on there.
Right, but what's the point though? I don't understand the point.
No,
Yeah.
what he's
What's
saying
the
is he was the only black person there. But how many people got notices to be on jury duty that just didn't show up? Is my point. It's
If
like,
you don't, you're gonna get a subpoena. So
Yeah.
that's not really an option. You get a subpoena if you don't show up after the second time.
Yeah, it's not one of those things like, oh, I'm just not going to do it, and they just forget about it. Like,
And
no,
like,
it's
because like to answer your earlier question, BJ, like what does that look like? Really briefly, it's two main things. One, filing a change of venue, where you take it out of a black community and you move it into a community with a majority of people that don't look like us.
Where
so
you
the
have
majority
one black person in
right,
the whole
majority,
pool.
right, majority of the actual juror pool will be reflective of that community, which will be a lot less than where it would have been. Secondly, the prosecutors themselves, they get to object on juries for no reason. So let's say they want to make it appear that there's a mixed jury, right? They'll reject every single black in this trial's instance, just based on the background. They could potentially object on every black jurist until they come across one whose close family member is a police officer, because they feel like they're going to be more sensitive. You're sympathetic to police, and they don't want to find that They don't want to find that police officer guilty, because then somebody might find their brother guilty, or somebody might find their cousin guilty, or something like that. Yeah. So like they whittle it down to those little small tiny shits where the jury a lot of times is made up of people that don't reflect the community, and it isn't unbiased in a way that we don't have a fair shot before the trial even begins.
It isn't in their best interest to say this person's innocent.
So my question is that's what
that looks like.
That is definitely the game, but isn't it also the prosecuting? I guess it would be the prosecutors.
No, because the thing is, you get an unlimited amount of objection. Wouldn't that be the same thing the defense could do?
Yeah,
right.
But they could, but it doesn't impact us because.
It should.
If you have
if you can say no to one person because you can tell they're overtly racist, I can say like, no, I don't want that person on this jury, but the other person can say yes. So it's the way the game is played is fucked up. But at what part do we say they had a shitty lawyer?
Right, but BJ, because if you do that, if you play that game with them, you know what you're going to do? You're going to end up with a jury pool where it's only 12 people left to choose from, and you've already disqualified all the black people totally. Because you disqualified the ones you didn't like, the prosecution disqualified the ones they didn't like, so now you ain't got no more to pick from, and you got to pick somebody from the last few. So what you going to do now? You just shot yourself in the foot. It's kind of like one of those things, the system is made where you have to accept some of those that you don't want to.
Yeah.
Because they're better than what you might get if you just X'd them out.
It's a game.
Yeah,
It's one big game.
Like JT said, it's trash. We need to redo the way that's done because it's not good at all.
But that's what I said. I still think it's intentional, right? So when I talked about earlier, when I said if we don't know, we're already in a race war. Like that's what racism is. Like it's a strategic move to adversely affect your life. You know what I'm saying? If you get a bad sentence because you're a black man, that's gonna for the rest of your life. That sentence is gonna.
Yeah, but
if you don't spend life in there.
I just think
But-
calling
and
it
it's-
a race
and it's-
war is an overstatement, though.
No,
I get what you're
no,
saying.
it's-
I
but it's
understand
aimed
what your
towards you.
points.
It's just a different weapon. So it's just to me, what you're saying, and this is just me. To me, what you're saying is like because you're not dropping bombs, you're gassing people. It's not a war, or you're sending info. You're doing a cyber attack instead of doing a like. It's just different. It's different engagements of war, and this to me, this is more of a strategic warlike move than just like, oh, it's just a societal norm. America has the highest incarceration rates in the world, so. You know what I'm saying?
Populated
That's
by-
because of how the system was made. That wasn't because of a particular race war. That was
Yeah,
because of crooked
but
people
who's
in
the
the
sy-
system.
who's the system-
A
who's the
race war
system-
indicates that this is a global thing done intentionally by all people of a certain race.
It is in this country. Who does
I don't agree with that.
Who does the justice system benefit?
Right, there are certain people
No,
who set up
right.
a bad
Who-
system. Crooked people set it up. That
Right.
doesn't
So
mean it's
who?
a race
and
war.
Listen, in this country, who does the justice system benefit in this country?
The rich, and the white people.
Cool. So that means that the system is targeted against everybody else who don't fit in that, which includes black people and immigrants. Some immigrants to over here. You know, it depends. It's who they've made out to be their enemy, the enemy of the
No.
state.
And again,
So-
I hear your point. I just think calling it a race war is a huge overstatement. That's just what I'm saying.
Okay.
I get what
I
you're
d-
saying. I understand your points.
I don't know. So what would you call
get
strategic
that.
moves against the race of people? Strategic
People trying to
oppression.
hold on to control.
In what
People
way?
trying to hold on to control. That's
And what's
it.
the method?
It's
I mean-
not more than that. You can't make it more than that. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a method of doing it.
I mean,
It's a method
the
of
way
holding
the
on
way
to
it
control.
sounds is like you're making war a very it encompasses a whole bunch of stuff. But I think Dre, possibly maybe myself, have a different definition for war and what it may be. Like, yeah, I with Dre, I see what you're saying. More so, what I'm saying is like, I see what you're saying, but I feel like war are bigger actions. Don't get me
Okay,
wrong,
so-
like it's a lot of little stuff, but I just feel
Yeah, no,
like
cool.
war are bigger actions.
Okay, so here's I guess this is where
Sed's
my
point
where my
is there
perspective
many levels of war.
perspective goes off is because but here's why I think it goes off. I'm a vet, you know what I'm saying, and so I've been overseas in war and I've been stateside in war. You know what I'm saying, and when people serve, you know, everybody's a vet, whether you served overseas or not. Like you put in work for your country. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is, when we're at war, even when we're supposedly at peacetime, a military member is always, you know, aware of what's going on around them. You know what I'm saying? Like there's little acts of terrorism or little acts of that could be war if it doesn't go the right way. You know what I'm saying? And it happens around us
Right,
all the
that's
time.
what-
And we're not in the middle of an active war as we would prescribe it, but these are still little acts of war. They could be acts of war. So when I say like there's a system used as a weapon that's weaponized against a race of people, what other do you weaponize stuff against people but in a war?
Are they acts of war if it's not during a war, though? Or
Absolutely.
is it just acts of violence?
Okay, so I should say acts of violence can constitute war at any time. So Yemen, when they hit the boat in Yemen, that was taken care of so quietly. Nobody came back and said, we declare war on... No, we handled it. It was over, right? But it could have been.
Right.
It could have been declared as a war.
But
because it was an aggressive
there
act
are-
from another country.
Right. But that's the thing. It could have been, but it wasn't, because the description of war is
Because
very intentional.
the way it was
that you only use in
handled.
certain
No,
instances.
it didn't become a war situation because the way it was handled.
But what I'm saying is, there are U.S. troops right now fighting in dozens of other countries, but they aren't considered wars. They're just fights in certain areas, right? I consider this one of those fights, but it's not a war.
So
Battles
if
versus
you're one of
war,
those,
is
if
that-
you're one of those guys
Well,
on
no,
the ground,
battles
if
are part of a war,
you're one of
per
those,
se.
if you're one of those guys on the ground, and you ask them, "Are you at war?" You think they're gonna say no? We're just out here killing people. And
If you
they're
ask,
trying not to
if
be
you
killed.
ask their commanding officer, they're going to say no. This isn't a war. That's not how the U.S. government defines a war, and you know that as a military officer.
I don't know that's
as a
not an
military
act of
guy.
war.
Certain things are war, and certain things aren't. Every military incursion isn't a war, and you know that, Sid. You know that.
So we have a system that's been in place for hundreds of years, and it keeps on doing the same thing over and over again. The only reason
You
why
try
it's
not
not
to agree with me, but you know you can't
no,
disagree
because
with that.
He can't
no.
disagree with that
I
statement,
hear what
but
you're
he can still
saying. Like
make his
I do hear
point.
what you're saying.
No, you can't. Right. So
Like-
carry on.
I hear what you're saying. It's just a thing where it's like the reason why certain things weren't an act of war because we was able to send a small regiment of people to handle the job, and it got handled. Had we not done that, had that mission failed, or had whatever else happened other than it neutralizing that situation right there, we could have gone to war for that situation. So the outcome mattered. So what I'm saying right here is that all these acts of war, if you want to say acts of violence against the black community, right? The response should be, you know what I'm saying, based on how we enter into war, should be a war situation. And they understand that. And we're running around saying, oh, race war is coming, and I'm telling you, if you don't see that you're already in it, then you're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, agree to disagree.
Okay.
I agree with his.
We shut the other two up, though.
I just said it's a war.
That's, what'd you say?
No, I agree with that logic, in the sense of, just because you're at war doesn't mean it's overt violence. There's behind the scene things that are going on, and I think to Sed's point, he's saying is like, if we don't know mentally that you're already at war with a system that wasn't built for you, you're behind. You're not understanding, because we can't sit here and say,
Oh, no.
we can't sit here and say that we didn't really have hope for this verdict because shit has gone wrong so long, and with every other verdict, and then say no, we're not at war, or then act like we don't understand that shit's
But that's
fucked up.
That's the thing, BJ. But that's the thing. Saying we're at war with the system versus saying it's a race war are two drastically different things in my mind.
Who's at war with the system?
The system's fucked. We need to.
The system is
We
there.
are.
The
That's
system
the
is
problem.
definitely-
The system is
yeah,
the
the
problem.
system is definitely the system.
But you can't say
But
the system is white people
you
and
can't
white
put that
people
on
are
the
the
whole
system.
race. No,
Yeah.
there
You
are poor
can't.
white people that are impacted by this system too. There are poor white people that are negatively impacted by this system too. The system is not built for poor people or for
when you
people
go to
of color.
war, when you go to war, there's casualties outside of those who should be targets.
So wait,
Like
so
war is
I'm
not
asking,
war is
I'm
not
asking this
neat to
question.
where it's so
Is-
precise. I'm only going to affect my enemy, my targeted enemy.
Right,
War
but you're
doesn't
saying
happen
the
like
system
that.
is white people. I'm saying that's not. You're saying
I'm
the
saying
system protects all
America.
white people.
Okay,
I'm
when we
saying
say
that's not the
America,
case.
who benefits from the American system? White people
Rich
and rich
people.
people.
Rich people.
Rich people and
It's
white
meant to
people.
keep people of power in power. Period.
So
It's
two
meant to
people.
keep people of power in power. That's it.
That's it. So it's not.
Some
it has
of them are
nothing to do with
white, yes.
race.
Some
so
of
it has
them are
nothing.
black.
So
Some of them are
you sound
Asian.
like
Some of them are
saying.
European.
You sound like you're saying it has nothing to do with race. So that has nothing to do with race. It's all about what money. That's it.
No, I'm saying the black people that are wealthy and in power they're not at risk like we are. A lot of them are protected by that same system that we're afraid of every day.
But
Not
at the same time, like
100%. Not
when you
100%
really
at
get
all.
into it,
No.
when you really
Right.
get into it,
That's-
like they're going to be just like everybody else when it really comes down to it. I need this clarification just to move forward for me. Are we concluding that the system is white people and the white people are the system?
I'm saying
Clear that up for me,
America.
and then-
Okay,
I'm
the
not.
American system benefits.
And what is America?
Certain American people, American citizens, as our Constitution is written, wasn't talking about us. Now I know we got all these. I know we got different amendments and all those things like that. But the American system is that it can write you in as a person. That's the American system. The people who connect most to that are the people the 74 million who voted for Trump, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot of people who stand by that. This is America, right? Our system, the reason why we can't be all relieved off of this verdict, our system is geared toward those 74 million who voted for Trump. Right? So if that's our
Okay,
system,
I guess
okay. If that's our
I guess
system,
for me, the reason that
and it's targeted
Go ahead,
against
go ahead,
us,
go ahead.
and it's targeted against us, and we can take, especially we say as a black man in America, we know we're a target. A target for what? Like, just for a game we're playing? This is not war. It's just a game we're playing. That we're gonna kill you when we want to. We're gonna lock you up when we want to. When your sons and daughters go missing, we're not really gonna look for them like that. But the little blonde haired white girl go missing, we're gonna make sure that, you know what I'm saying? It's just, and I'm not coming against. I'm not trying to declare war against anybody. I'm not trying to act like all white people are the enemy, and I'm not trying to be on that. But what I am saying is that the system and those who buy into it are buying into it intentionally, and they know what they're buying into. And we're sitting around saying until
I think
violence erupts against the racists, then it's not a
We're
race
trying to-
war.
We're trying to
We gotta
define
start.
the term of war, but I feel like what we're truly saying is avert violence going on out in these streets. I think that's what we're really saying that may happen. Like
And
y'all can have a whole different definition of war, left and right, and what you consider it not. But what we're talking about is, had this verdict and things not gone right, it's one step closer to flat out, like, we just drawing guns, like anybody popping off, like fuck marching, fuck sit-ins, like we just ringing out bullets. Like, that's what we're talking about when we saying war in this particular instance.
Yeah, and I guess for me, like, the reason that I want to specify the war on the system, as I would like to call it, versus a race war, is because, let's say something happened and Hispanics were in power. If that system was still in place, it would still be the same problem. It's not just because the people are white are in power, it's because of the system itself. It doesn't matter who's the majority in charge of that system, it's the system. So unless the system is dismantled, then that's the problem. So you could call it race. If you kill all the white people, but the system's still
No,
there,
that's
and
why I'm not
somebody
trying
else
to-
takes over the same system,
I
we're
think
still
you're
in the
trying to-
same
I
place.
think you're trying to trivialize my
And
point.
that's why I
Not
don't want
in-
to call it a race war.
Okay,
But
you're
that's why I don't want to
trivializing
call
my
it a race
point.
war, because you keep tying it to the system.
No.
Wait, let me finish. You're tying it to the system, and I'm saying you can't tie it to the system because if you swap in another race, the system's still fucked.
It's not okay. Oh my gosh, bro! How can you say that when we compare constantly how white people are treated in the system and how black people are treated in the system specifically? Let's
It's
act
the
like right
system,
now.
It's not the race. It's the system, not the race. That's the
No.
whole point.
No, that's not. I don't
So
agree
why
with
does the
that.
system is
system?
fucked.
Why does the
Is it the
system?
system?
fucked.
Is it the system or the way that
Why
people
does the sys-
perceive certain races? Because if a white person get pulled over or we get pulled over, the cop might treat us differently, right? So that's definitely a race issue. It's not the system.
Because white people are in charge of the system right now.
no,
Okay,
no,
so that's
that
the-
cop is an
White
asshole.
people
system-
control the system right
When
now.
have they not controlled the system? They made the system, like it was made in that.
Not saying that's not true.
And let me
But
just
I'm
say
saying
something real
if
quick.
If any other race took control of this system,
Okay.
this system would still be fucked.
You're right. Okay, if any other race
That's-
did, but no
that's
other race
not how
is.
racism
But
works.
all I'm saying is, it's like I don't want to. I just want to say this real quick for real. I'm not saying all white people in these United States of America are the enemy. I'm not saying that at all, because
If you're calling it a race war, you are though. You're drawing
No.
distinct lines here.
I'm
That's
drawing
why I
this.
don't want to call it that. It's not that. It's the system.
I'm gonna still call it a race war.
System is
I'm still gonna
people
call
that
it.
support-
I'm still gonna
it's
call
people
it.
that up. It's
Okay,
people that
okay.
uplift this system.
Okay, cool. I'm still gonna call it a race war because in every country there's still all different types of people. Like if I go to Germany, they're not
To
gonna
me,
call them.
Daniel Cameron is part.
Wait,
to me,
wait.
To me, Daniel Cameron is part of the problem, and he black.
Okay, cool.
He part of the problem, and he black.
Okay, cool. So it'll further go with my point. So if I go to Germany right now and I see a black German, I'm not going to say he's an African German. He's German. Only in America do we call him an African American. Only in America do we call him African American. So what I'm talking about is like there are white people that are part of a better like there are white people
that
who are
in
on,
England
who are on the right side of things. So there are white people on the right side of things. There are all people from all races on the right side of things. So we're not saying so it is an ideology, it is a system, but those who continually uphold it and those who benefit from it and don't do anything to try to change it, like you're part of the problem. And that is a
Right, but
stance.
that's not a racial thing.
How's it not a
That's
racial thing?
You got Daniel Cameron, you got Stacey Dash, you got that other black, the annoying skinny black chick.
Owens.
They're black. You
All
got
right.
Candace Owens. They're
So
black, and they're part of the problem. So it's not
if-
a racial thing. It's people that are supporting the system. That's all I'm saying. It's not a racial thing. It's people that are supporting this system.
But all the answer to your question
you're both
was
right, but-
all the answer to your question was this system
Again.
is geared to benefit white people and hurt black people. And now you're saying it's not about race.
It's about people that are uplifting this system and keeping it powerful. That could be black people. It could be white people. It could be Puerto Rican, Asians, anybody.
Porter who?
It's not just white people doing it. That's why I'm not just making it a black-white thing. Yeah, I fucked that all the way up. I'm just
So-
not making it a black-white thing. And if
So-
it applies to race war, it would be.
So if there's a black cop,
Puerto
if
Ricans.
there's an ex-black cop on
One too
trial,
many sips.
if there's an ex-black cop on trial for killing a white dude, what would you think that's going to be like in this system?
It's going to be a reflection of the system. No need to.
Which would
get
be
into
what?
semantics of it. A reflection of the system.
Right. So you don't want to say I'm right. That's cool.
That doesn't change my
Let's
point
go to
at
the
all.
next question.
No, because it doesn't change my point at all.
Because you can't have a system geared
But
toward
before we do-
one race. That's crazy. And say it's not about race.
It's not a race war. It's about race on some level. It's not a race war, though. Drastically different in my mind.
All right.
I already agreed to disagree 20 minutes ago, though. So let's move on to the
Right,
next
this is
question.
true.
Right, this nigga just won't
This is
stop.
true. Like, all right, like.
But quit acting like you said
we're
I
not gonna
disagree
see how
and
that
then just stop.
This week, I did. You kept going.
No, you didn't.
This week is not brought to me by Weller 12, but I drink it anyway because I like it. What y'all sipping on or taking advantage on since it's 4:20 when we're recording tonight, fellas?
Man.
It's 420. I'm not talking about it.
Right.
True. You got a real job.
You over eating.
That's right.
Any-
It sound like
I mean, you
can't
got
see 'em.
water. You got you got alcohol.
I
You got water. What you got, JT? You guys any
I just got
beverages?
water.
This week's episode is brought to you by Essential. Water. No,
Alkaline joints.
Yeah. I'm chilling, man. I ain't doing that. I don't celebrate
Low-key.
420 like that's a substance abuse holiday, and I refuse to do narcotics.
This guy.
Abuse.
I feel you. I respect that.
We don't believe it, but we respect it.
All right. What the rest of y'all got while I pull up the extra question?
I
just got water.
I don't got shit because
That's all
I
I
thought
got.
we were recording later than what we really were, and then had time to go to the store. And then my internet's fucked.
Yeah,
in
this feel like we're
area.
recording at 8, right? I'm like, what?
That's what I saw. I don't know. Man.
You said, man.
Said stuff-
Anyway, keep it
something
moving.
about
Bro,
it.
no way.
Said, just water. Just water for you today, Sid.
Yeah, it's water.
Good old H2O.
Good old
That's
H2O
what's up.
in a solo red cup.
Yeah, I don't believe you no more now.
I know, right? H2O.
I be
All
in
right.
meetings like that. I
But
need to
to,
use a regular glass.
Man, we're just gonna go ahead and power through, skip the commercial this week, and to bring it home. Just want to know, what do you guys expect, or what would you actually like to see come next from the movement in terms of a social justice standpoint?
The only thing I would like to see is forward progress, man. Like, and I think we all been alluding to it the whole show. That's one thing. That's one thing for sure we all agreed on. I don't want this to be a data point. You know what I'm saying? I want it to be a trend. You know what I'm saying? A pattern. The cop who just killed you know, oh my goodness, Dwayne Wright. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I'm probably messing his name all up.
I don't think that's it.
It ain't
Like,
it at all.
Get along. Gotta keep up with names like this.
I know, right? Who's the hashtag
right,
this
that's the
time?
issue.
And that's so messed up that we have
That's
to.
the problem, right?
Anyway, I'm sorry, man. The young brother who just got killed by yelling taser as you fire off a weapon. You know, like she needs to be convicted.
That shit right there,
She needs to be convicted.
So-
Kyle Rittenhouse needs to be convicted.
through and through.
You know, who's Albert? Who's the Georgia boys who just felt like killing somebody that day needs to be convicted. You know, so that's what needs to happen. If that's not
Let me go
happening,
back to
then
this-
then this was just like I said, throw me a bone and just wait for the next one to jump off.
I don't have any true expectations moving forward. I need more than just today.
Right. Yeah.
I'll say that. I need more than just today to feel like we're on a. I mean, here's the thing: Obama got elected 8 years, and then there's retaliation.
They went
with Trump,
crazy.
right? So my thing is this: I think there's always going to be an issue. It's just going to be what it is. Separation is actually more natural than we give it credit. So
Separate. Oh, of our people. You mean?
people, things in general, like
I mean, in this you're talking about racist though.
yeah.
Are you pro segregation?
Oh wow.
Not
Oh,
necessarily.
that's actually a great question.
I do believe in having your. We'll come back to that because that is a good question. That's actually an episode, but
Man, for real. There's a lot in there.
yeah, it is. My thing is, there's always going to be this issue, race, system, however you want to fucking put it. There's going to be this thing where no matter what, we'll say what black people do, that all of a sudden, because they're winning or doing well, we'll say white people are going to, or a certain particular population of white people, I'll say, will definitely retaliate and show how much of an ass they are. And so that's the problem that I know is we're going to always have. And that's, to me, it's too early to call what I really expect moving forward. Like I need to see more. Like you need more people. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just not there yet. Like I have hope. Don't get me wrong. Like I think at some point things will get better in some way. Overall overhaul of the system, nah. That's unless I hate to say it, but there's gonna have to be a revolution with bloodshed in order for things to truly change. And that's a jacked up way to see things. But if you look at history,
so there's hope.
Things don't change unless there's bloodshed.
It's just hope. It's just hope in different means. So you think it can happen? It just got to happen a different way. Is that what I hear?
I mean, I would love to see it.
Because if you can't think it
I would love
happen,
to
then
see
you
it,
can't.
and that's
Can you say you got hope if you can't see like? And that may be proving the point of the very first question out the gate. Like, can you really say you have hope if you really can't see the situation getting better?
an inkling of hope, I guess, a glimpse, a very very small mustard seed of hope.
So
if you will,
I'm glad you said mustard seed, because I was going to ask about faith with this. Like, why, if you have faith in God and Jesus and how people are supposed to be treated, why do you have so little hope in equality ever happening? And that could be for any of
that's
us.
the thing.
Equality comes through man, right?
It comes through.
We're talking
man,
about equality that man provides.
Yeah, but
Well,
God is in control.
And
right?
God,
That's
the heart.
God is in
absolutely he
control.
is.
Right, but as much as much
So-
struggle that we've already been through, who's to say that this isn't just a part of our
Okay.
predestined struggle?
I like that. I'm so glad this came up, and I like both.
That
responses.
and
But
initially
here's the
that's
thing.
not the words that I was going to use, but the sentiment altogether. It's like I have so much hope in God. However, for this situation and its history in general, if God chooses not to move, then God has chosen not to move, and I'm still going to have hope in God.
Right.
Now, my hope in man
But why?
don't
If
have.
that's the case,
I don't
why?
have that.
Because if you're saying you're choosing
But if you're-
things off of what's happened in the past, so right now you're literally saying I have to have hope in God because that's what we're supposed to do. But these last 400 years, God hasn't quote unquote moved the way that we think we should, or He should, and that's okay. But you won't have faith or hope in the system.
No. It's here's the thing.
No, that is exactly what you just said.
I have hope in God because God. No. I have hope in God because God has done so many awesome and wonderful things in my life to provide a solid foundation for hope in God. Now,
Okay.
when we're talking about creatures that have free will to do things upon this earth, those are the people that I can't say I have hope in. There's a big difference for me. Like we can't put them on the same surface when we're talking about this. Like it's not. I see what you're saying and where you're headed with that, but that's
Does
not what
God
I'm saying.
not
That's
control
not. That's
them,
not this
or-
at all.
Okay.
Right, but,
God has
BJ,
also
to my
given free
point,
will.
this could be part of the struggle before we get to heaven. We just have to go through this struggle.
Why do
It is
people that
getting
look
better.
like
There
us
is
have to go
progress.
through this
Like-
struggle?
Stop yelling at us, first of all. Stop yelling at us.
Why do people that look like us have to go through this
Say
struggle?
what?
Though? Why do people that look like us have to go through this struggle? Right? Like
Maybe we're
I'm
God's
I'm
chosen
tired
people,
of
and we have
people
to
just
live our lives
like
to enjoy.
whatever. I get it, but I'm tired of people
So here's what the word said.
rationalizing
The word said
other
we're
people's
going out to the
bullshit and
world.
saying it's because God wants us to go
Right.
through it.
Listen,
That's
we're going out into the world as sheep prepared for the slaughter, and we praise that, and we say we're Christians. He says be harmless as doves and wise as serpents. Neither one of the animals that he told us to be like is a dominant breed or species. You know what I'm saying? Like none of them.
Right.
But yet still, we want a lion response. We'll say we're a lion, but God never said we were lions. He said he was a lion. You know what I'm saying? So it's really interesting sometimes when you get to the point you're trying to question, and it makes you question your faith a little bit. Do I really believe in the stuff I say I believe in? Am I really a Christian? Because what you're saying is that why as God's people will we have to suffer? If we're not dominant, the children of Israel suffered. They wasn't a dominant people. They suffered like crazy. They suffered for 400
that
years
doesn't make
with
it
just
okay.
with the Egyptians. I'm not,
Wait, so are you asking about you're asking a whole different subject now. You talking about religion and why God want black people to suffer, and that's like two episodes itself. Like
What I'm saying is,
we ain't about to convolute this episode with that conversation.
What I'm saying is, why do we have to accept the way that we're fucking treated and just write it off as, well, God, this must be God's will? That's what I'm saying. Like, there shouldn't.
Nobody's
shouldn't
accepting
accept
it at all.
Nobody ever
Nobody's-
said that. Nobody ever said that. Nobody ever
No,
said
nobody's
that, BJ.
accepting anything. I just know how man moves. So that's what I'm talking about. Like I know my God and I know man. Like they're two totally different things. I have faith in God. I have no faith in man. However, I'm not okay with the way this shit is when it comes to human contact.
I
Like
still believe-
I don't like
So
it.
is,
I still
is,
believe
is
that
his
even if
hand
this
on the
is-
situation
even
or
if this
not?
is even
That's all I'm asking.
I still believe that even
is his
even
hand
if
on
we're
the
supposed to be in a
situation
situation, it could still be better. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think even if this is our situation, if our situation is to be, because in every country, people don't look at us the same. In almost every country, they look at us in a racist type way. You know what I'm saying? So if this is our lot to be perceived this way, I still believe that in this existence, it could still be better than it is now. And we saw it, for instance, look at the story of the children of Israel. First, we're going to give you all these things to build. Now we're going to make it harder. You know what I'm saying? So it can be better and worse in a bad situation. So if we're going to say that we have faith in God and God is going to work everything out together for our good, then how can we not have hope and faith in our prayer that our prayer is going to work, that it's going to get better? Not saying he's going to overhaul the system, but we're going to get better in the system. We're going to have a better place in the system. Because like Dre said, no matter what race is at the head of the system, it's bad. The system is bad. So what I'm saying is, if we're going to be a part of this system, if this is our system that we're going to be a part of, we can have a better place in it. And that's what my prayers are for. Because we can get to a better place in this.
Because I had this conversation with myself. If you look at the history of the Bible, war is throughout most chapters, throughout the entire Bible. God is still present in the Bible. So these things that we're going through right now are not fair in many ways, but God is definitely present. So that's where my faith is. Do I like the way things are currently set up? No. Do I believe in a better day? Yes. Overall, however I understand the interaction with humans, that is fucked up. Like, I compartmentalize a lot of shit. And so I understand humans are over here. God is up here. When he deals with this, he deals with it. It may not be to my liking, but I understand in his word and how he has moved in the past. In my life personally, I know things are going to be okay for me, if not collectively, for people in general. For my people.
Okay.
Yeah.
But BJ, what's your stance? Like, you question us, but like, what is your stance?
On what? What's your question? I was
On the question that you asked.
Well, I don't know. Personally, it was more or less like, because you were saying that you don't have any hope.
He's the one to yell at you. Niggas.
A little bit, right?
No.
But go ahead, BJ.
He was saying he doesn't have any hope in the system changing. So I just kind of switched it. It was like, well, I know he's a man of faith and you believe certain things. So if you don't have a hope in the system changing, how can you say that you truly believe in what you believe? Because we shouldn't be going through the things that we go through, right? So someone is allowing it to happen. Some force is allowing it to happen, whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whether it's whatever. It's happening. We can't deny that. All I'm saying is, why do we have to just believe shit's gonna change, but then not believe shit's gonna change, right? We serve an omnipotent.
Yeah,
How you say that? Omnipotent, all
Ah!
powerful. All this. Yeah, I fucked that all up.
All powerful.
Yeah.
All powerful.
All
Man,
all
I
knowing.
keep trying.
No, man. Like,
Because
I want my brother to
But-
struggle like this.
But what you know what I'm saying? So why?
So
Just saying, somebody saying what the Israelites had to
I
go through
appreciate
things
your.
is one thing. I don't give a fuck that they had to go. We're going through stuff right now. Like, just because they went through something doesn't mean it's okay for us to go through this shit. Like seriously.
No.
I just think
It's
it's
just
So here's. So I want you to understand that, me personally, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm not using God as a scapegoat to be okay with bullshit. That's never the answer for me. And to understand, God is in control, but humans have free will, right?
But the heart
So,
of man is in
understanding God is in
the
control.
hand of man, of God.
Bro,
God has the heart of man in his hand.
Say again?
He can change it. He can change it as he wills, like he did with Pharaoh. God can change
Right.
the enemy's
I mean-
perception about you.
so why
God can,
isn't
God can
why
do
isn't
these
he?
things.
what I'm
Why
has he
isn't
not though? Are we
Yeah.
saying
Has it
so
not gotten
if
better?
that's the case, are we saying that there's no allies for the black community?
I'm not saying that.
Because truly, like,
Because I can drink out of
since
whatever
we
water
can say
fountain
the
I want to.
'60s,
I can say
hasn't the
whatever I
system
want to on a boat.
changed? You know what I'm saying? Like these are the
Not in my
things
city.
where, as Dre was saying,
In other,
when
other
there's
things.
always people.
Oh yeah, your city kind of.
There's always people that's going to have power, and when people have power, they're always going to belittle people under them, and that's history. That's the way it is. Things turn, but at the end of the day, God's word still stands. I believe in God. I don't want to say fuck humans, but fuck humans. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the way it is. That's my.
But humans do not work.
And I don't want you to ever.
Only you can compartmentalize that. Humans don't work independent of God. It's not like God don't have any control over humans. Like, yeah, we got free will, but God can still do what He wants to do. I mean, because somebody has a will to always dominate somebody, and then they end up losing. Your free will can still have you in a messed up place. Most time it will have you in a messed up place. So that's why I say, if we're going to be part of this, because we don't have to be American citizens. We can live wherever we want to live. But if we're going to say that we're going to live in America under this system and be here, and we're going to be believers in God, and we know that God can work together God does work together for our good, then you can't tell me that I'm permanently assigned and going to be placed in this place of oppression. It's, I believe God can bring us up out of this place to a place to where it is like the system is still jacked up, but we're not getting lynched in the streets like this, and we're not, what I'm saying, we're not going to have this gross injustice between us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to circle back to the main point, since BJ all hype and riled up, let's get your input on what you actually expect or would like to see come next from this movement in terms of a social justice standpoint. What do you think, B? And I expect to hear some radical revolutionary shit since you all angry today.
I'm not angry, okay? I'm just talking from the hip.
Intensely emotional.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm not angry.
Hopefully.
No, you're talking from the hip. Where the
Right,
holster
yeah.
is. Not the
Right, the
heart.
holster. Yeah.
Well, honestly, I really hope, one, that police officers start taking a breath and start taking a beat and calming the fuck down, honestly, and understanding that everybody just wants to go home. And this is the thing, like, I have uncles that are police officers, I have friends that are police officers. I do understand they want to get home. I get that. I think everybody understands that. It's a job that's not fun to do. But understanding that, that person that you're pulling over wants to go home. They want to get to their wife or get to their kids and do all the things you're thinking about doing. Just take a breath, take a beat. Don't be so aggressive all the time. I posed a question the other day, and when we were talking about certain topics of possibly talking about, when did we realize that our skin tone as a black man was a threat? And is this one of those things where we ain't all bad? Like, stop. We don't all fit the description. Stop lumping us in. Stop doing the bullshit. It'll be okay. So what I would like to see is for cops to start thinking about the fact that their actions are going to have consequences. You can't just keep doing this without something happening, without you serving justice. And hopefully the legal system can take care of that so we don't have to.
Yeah.
Did I answer initially?
You did. You instead went so far. But if you got more, go ahead and jump in before.
Yeah, I want honestly just more accountability. I know people fuck up at their jobs daily, right? But of course, I don't want the fuck up to be where someone loses their life. Yeah, everybody wants to go home. Even crooks and criminals want to go home. Mm-hmm. Therefore, they do the shit that they do and kill one another so they can get home, whatever. My thing is, hopefully with this case, that blue veil, that blue badge of secrecy or whatever you want to call it, comes down a little bit just to a normal sense of I'm gonna hold you accountable, blue brother, blue sister, so that you don't go out in these streets and kill these people. And if you do, I ain't trying to cover you because what you're doing is wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want moving forward, because we can talk about this grand old system, but I just want to really just get to something. I just want cops to be, one, not so scary. First of all, I don't want my cops scary, where you just ready to shoot. You know what I'm saying? Just because someone is bigger than you, right? Or you know what I'm saying? Or I want you to be clear-minded, so you know when you're getting a gun versus a taser. Even though I fucking think you know when you're grabbing which.
She was a training officer.
That was
fuck
when
that.
I saw that information, I was like,
Two different colors.
she fucking knew what she was doing. She wanted to do what she did, and she did it. So
You can't aim your
but
gun
that's
without
that.
looking at it.
I just like you can. Yeah, more accountability. I could break it down all day, but like that's initially like more accountability, man. Like you just can't be doing the bullshit. Like if I fuck up at my job, you may lose money, you may lose information. But if a cop fuck up at their job, you're losing lives.
You know what?
So
And
there's very little room for bad apples in that particular.
as doctors are, you know. I'll say this though, and I know this is
Right.
I know this is another show. I would say I would love to see that trickle down or be reflected in our communities as well. Because this whole no snitching thing that let killers run free and let terrorizers of our neighborhoods run free, like we got to let go of that too. If we're gonna roll with the system.
You're right.
Yeah, and I think part of that too, though, stems from a lack of trust in the police
Yeah,
in general.
for sure. That's what I'm saying. I would like to see that reflected. If it's gonna be on both sides, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And I guess for me, my answer to the question is a couple very tangible things related to the police and a couple more broad things. But first, for the police, two things. Simply, one, it shouldn't be harder to get a motherfucking barber license than it is to be a cop.
Man.
Like, I should never need more training to cut somebody's hair than I do to actually carry a gun in the name of justice. Like, that has to change. I don't even understand how that math works out, where people will say, okay, you're going to need 200 hours to be a barber, but only 47 to be a cop. What? Or something crazy like that. So we need training. We need that whole system overhauled. They need continual training. Clearly, they need sensitivity training, some shit that actually work, and not just the little movies that they put on and check a box that you attended. But also,
they need to
we
get
need
to know the
to
areas
see.
that they patrol. Get to know the areas you patrol.
I would like to
That's-
see
You know?
people
That's
from
another part.
our
Wait,
communities
Well,
actually
no, you
policing our
had your part.
communities.
Shut up. Yeah, no, I think that made a big difference when cities actually when that used to be a thing, because it did for a while.
Yeah.
Up until late 80s, I think. But when you had to live in the city where you were a police officer, it was a whole different level of
Respect.
punishment that you would inflict on people, right? Because you weren't afraid of the people because you lived there, and you weren't gonna go out of your way to do some fucked up shit because you knew niggas knew you and they knew where you gonna be at. So
Right.
like part of that definitely comes into it. So I would love to see it go back to that. The only thing is communities are kind of broken up in a different manner now, where I don't know if that's feasible everywhere. Because I know like where I'm at back home, it's just not enough people in my neighborhood that would want to be cops, so they would have to bring people in. But I think
Right.
it should be a definitely a thing for major cities. At
Yeah.
least.
Because you have to take that breath, like BJ was saying. You have to take a beat to be like, because you know this person. I see you coming home every day. You know what I'm saying? You know who's in your neighborhood. You know the bad boys in your neighborhood. You know you know everybody in the neighborhood. You know where
Right.
You know
And in those situations, when you came to a nigga like, yo, Lil Pookie, what happened? He gonna be like, all right, I trust this dude. He ain't gonna do no foul shit. It was such and such, but don't tell nobody. Right? You get information because they trust you. They know you. They feel comfortable actually dealing with you versus just some little fuck cop that show up beating people up and then expect to get information from them. That shit ain't gonna work.
right. You don't look like me. I don't know
but-
you. You don't move like me.
Yeah.
Like
And you're not working in my best interest, so fuck you.
right.
But the other thing that I would like to see very tangible is passing of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act of 2021, because it basically goes into police accountability. It goes into different aspects of what should happen, different levels of government oversight that aren't available now, because a lot of times it's very independent and it's that closed community where ain't nobody saying shit, ain't nobody sharing shit. This would bring in outside oversight, which would be extremely helpful in cases like this to actually get more information, and people have to cooperate. So I would love that from the police. But the other thing that I would love, and I feel is important for this movement to keep progressing, is I think Anderson Cooper has said it while they were waiting for the verdict, but there were over 20 million white people that marched since George Floyd's death. We need that same momentum for all this other stuff that we're dealing with. Like, this can't stop now. We can't be like, okay, George Floyd's, it was a guilty verdict, so now let me go back to my house because black people are cool. We're not. And we need all the momentum that we got right now to keep going. We can't have people falling off because they feel like they did their duty. Like, this country's still fucked, and it's our duty as Americans to still keep working together as much as we can to fucking be the America that we want to see. So, like, those are the things that I want, just the police accountability and to make sure that our allies remain our allies and keep pushing, because it's important. We gonna do everything that we can, but it's fucking power in masses, so we need as much people and as much momentum as we can keep going.
Yeah. Word. No objection.
Anybody else got anything on that point that they wanted to add? I know JT jumped back in with something earlier. Anything else y'all think about what y'all want before we go ahead and jump in the last words?
Yeah, I want people to start calling their local officials. I want you to literally, like, for all the bullshit that we go through individually all over state to state, city to city, county to county, call your local officials. Like, be a fucking gnat in people's ear, face. Well, make that change. Use your voice. If you want to call the House of Representatives, their number is 202-224-3121. Again, 202-224-3121. Like, this is the time to not let up. This is the time to honestly, like, literally bring more of this shit home, because as people have said on this podcast today, like, we are at war. So therefore, like, you got to start maneuvering and making these calls and making sure that everyone, knows right from wrong, and voice, like, just use your damn voice, man. Like, say some shit.
Yeah, and I think that ties into, like, the big push that we were having around the elections. Like, you got to vote local, you got to vote for your state, but as people always say, like, all right, I vote now, how I hold them accountable? That's how you hold them accountable. You pick up the fucking phone and you let them know what you're thinking. You let them know what you like, what you dislike. If they voted on something that was some bullshit, or if they're silent about something like this or something that's important in your district, you got to speak up. Otherwise, you're not going to hold them accountable, and it's going to be your fault when it's next election cycle when you're like, ain't nobody hold them accountable because you ain't do shit.
Man,
and you'd be surprised.
By the mayor. Cities and states and countries are ran by, our country is ran by elected officials. Elected.
Every level touch, every level voice, every level reach out to. Yep. Why? Because every level affects your fucking life. We don't want to blame just the House of Representatives and the Senate, on the national level. We don't want to just blame our mayors and local statesmen. We want to talk to everybody. Everybody is connected. We are not in this by ourselves. Just because you live in Tucson, Arizona, doesn't mean I'm not affected here in D.C. Like, we're all connected. Do not believe the hype and let people think that you are alone or disconnected because your community looks different. We are all fucking connected. So make sure you call on every level. Make sure you reach out. Make sure you keep these voices being heard. Otherwise, it's going to be another 5, 6, 7 issues like this, and then maybe we'll get another bone like we talked about, in the show today. So, like, after working on the Hill for 4 years, if my boss voted in a way that people did not agree, those phones lit up, and he took that into consideration. He heard his people's voices. So
they all want to get reelected.
That want to get
Right. That's their
I don't want to
job.
say that about him because he's different, but still,
It's their
like
job.
yes, they want to get reelected. And they also, for those that definitely still want to serve their people, even if it's not about this particular type of situation. But if you're talking about schools, parks, all of that, if you want more funding for things, you gotta say some shit. Like say something. Don't sit here and be mad at the television, mad at people that you see. You have to literally speak and vote. Stop the bullshit on your part, so they can stop the bullshit on their part.
Word. Cool. So, with that said, let's go ahead and wrap. Great episode, fellas. Y'all got any last words before we go ahead and ring the bell?
JT, throw your Cash App out right quick. Man,
J
this has been
facts, nigga. Now what?
this has been fun. You know why this is fun? Because JT, look at this, man. The conversation is different. We did a show, season 1, episode 3, when we were talking about this incident and others. Now we're doing an episode, and we're talking
Almost a
about
year
this.
later.
Almost a year later, talking about this, and it's a different, it's a different show, and I'm thankful for that. I thank God for that. I think those who voted, those who got about that action. We got so many activists now. You on social media. You're a social media activist, and that's cool. Get the word out. You're out there marching. You're out there doing your thing. Like everybody who has a hand in the shift that is happening now. Man, you're the reason that this show is different. And I hope to hear from y'all in the group because I want to talk about this, man. This show is really different. And then I remember because I was so stressed out when we was doing that episode. I was so stressed out. I mean, if you can't hear from the episode, who those who've heard it, and if you haven't, go back and hear it. If you can't tell from the episode, we were so stressed
That
out.
might have been like the heaviest 2 hours of my adulthood.
Man, it was rough. So now with my boys, we can actually smile. No tears is falling.
bit.
And we're gonna a little bit. We're gonna leave this show and
clip.
we're gonna leave the show and the country's different, a little bit different.
There we go. Anybody else? I thought BJ was about to jump in there.
Yeah.
No,
Parting words.
I thought JT's gonna have a final word.
good?
But he had all the words, but I'm just glad that things are getting a little better. I'm glad the conviction came down the way it did, but we just need to stay diligent on pretty much everybody becoming better people and loving each other as humans, whether you're white, black, whatever. Just be better, because one thing, and Seg probably can attest to this, if somebody attacks America today, we're all Americans then. Now it's time to fight. We're brothers. You know what I'm saying? So let's let the petty bullshit and the small differences of whether it's race or money or social economic divides that keeps us apart, and let's just all treat each other well. That's all I gotta say.
Man, off of that, BJ, as a vet, dude, I gotta just say it because I can't just act like a straight flip. Like I love this country, I really do. I love what it could be. I love what it's supposed to be that we're working toward. I would be one of those ones if somebody attacked our country. For most of my young adulthood, I would be the one who would respond to that proudly, to fight for our country and fight for the people in this country. My family, y'all's families. So this ain't an anti-American stance I got. It's an anti-white stance I got. Man, we just want to see a different. We want to see the better country that is promised in our Constitution. That's promised, you know what I'm saying, in the different amendments. The American dream,
Mm-hmm.
What's up?
To be honest, I just want at least most of the bullshit to stop. I am even with myself on this particular situation and these situations in general, man. Like I recognize, social media activists, participated in a couple of marches. but there's a part where, like, there's, I guess because the issue hasn't been resolved, there's still a part of me that feels like, oh, there's so much more to do. And I don't want that. I just want shit. I just want everybody to pitch in and stop the bullshit from happening. And so, I think I just gave it in my other rant, man. Like, we gotta use our voices and our votes. And even if you don't vote, stop your bullshit. Like, stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop with the violence locally. How about that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how about we just stop, you know what I'm saying, just being bullshitters and ignorant all around. And I ain't talking about the one particular community. I'm talking about all of us. Like, we all got issues. And so, like, if we literally took time to, like, think about things, like, I think the world could be a hell of a lot better, and we wouldn't even get to this particular point. But, you know, that's a whole nother episode, I guess.
Throw your Cash App out, bro. It's the second time.
Preach.
So,
Well,
J-Tax.
yeah, man, this was a really great episode. And when, you know, I think about where we came from almost a year ago when we recorded the hashtag episode, season 1, episode 3 in our back catalog for anybody who hasn't listened to it yet, to where we are now, this has been a real hard year. It's been heavy, and it's just still so much left to be done.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful after this verdict that things can change, that things will be better, but I just, again, want to say we can't let off of the gas. We can't. We ask our allies don't, and we just want to make sure that we keep making this country what we want it to look like, we want it to be, and what we know it can be, and what it was intended to be for some people, for all. But with that said, we're about to get out of here. Just want to say rest in peace, George Floyd. The conviction has been gotten. Like your daughter said, you're going to change the world. And part of that started at your death. Today was another step. And we're just going to keep fighting. We're going to keep grinding. We're going to keep doing what we got to do as a people to make that happen. But thanks for joining us. We're going to go ahead and jump out of here. This is Dre.
DJ.
JC.
And we out. Thanks, y'all. Peace.
Happy birthday, Luther Vandross.
Boo, 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 boo.